Ready, Don?
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay, tonight we're beginning with the annual organizational meeting, and the first item on the agenda is the oath of office for newly elected board members. So, Connie, would you like to take care of that for us? So thank you, Connie, and welcome to the new board members and those of you that are returning. We're happy to have you. The next two items on the organizational meeting agenda involve the election of Board of Education officers for the position of president and vice president. Is there a need for an executive session? And if so, would somebody like to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Mike Marizio made the motion. Anybody like to second it? Aaron is seconding it. All in favor? I believe that's unanimous, and we will see all of you shortly.
Just going to lift this. Yeah, hit it with a hammer.
No,
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
yeah.
still running it. If I don't come to life here, we'll see.
Okay, do we need a motion to go back into regular session? I thought so. We need a motion. Aaron, seconded by George. All in favor, back in regular session? Okay, we're back. I believe at this point I'm supposed to ask if there is a motion for nomination for the office of president of the board.
I'll make the nomination of Michael Schuzda to remain president of the board.
I would like to second it.
Seconding it, okay. All in favor?
Thank you. And thanks to everybody. Appreciate it very much. If I get this thing to come to life, but I know what it says because I need a nomination for the election of vice president of the Board of Education for the 2000. Aaron? Aaron nominates Mike Murizio. Mary?
I will second
Second?
that motion.
All in favor? Unanimous as well. Connie, you have to administer oath of office. I guess we'll come to you. Thanks. Okay. We have several on the organizational meeting, several appointments of different personnel, committees, etc. We'll go through these relatively quickly. 4.01, appointment of the Board of Education Audit Committee. That will consist of the Board of Education President and Vice President. Motion to approve the Audit Committee. Mr. Farfalia, Mr. D'Onofrio, all in favor. I'm going to save some time. Appointment of Board of Education officers, and you can see all these as we go. District Treasurer, Vince Love, and the Deputy Treasurer as Donald Keegan. District Clerk, Connie Gibson. Claims Auditor in the establishment of the bonds. This is somebody new to us. It's Angela Hendershot. At the hourly rate as shown. Central Treasurer for Activity Funds. Now that was Patty Marlowe. We're now going to appoint Amy Brisson, who's in the payroll. She will get that position as well. Patty has retired. Yes, Patty retired. Appointment of Student Account Manager. It's going to be Michael Lucia again as the .2 FTE Student Account Manager, and it's a .2 reduction in his regular teaching duties in order to do that. Civil Service Personnel Officer, along with Title IX compliance, Title VI compliance, Equal Opportunity Employment, Vietnam Era Veterans Readjustment Act, Compliance Officer, etc., Jason Nephew. Compliance Officer for Section 504, this is Val DeFlorio, Executive Director for Pupil Personnel Services. Medicaid Compliance Officer, Don Keegan, as Medicaid Compliance Officer. Dignity for All Students Act Coordinators, a long list. Lisa Goldberg as the coordinator, and then the following individuals: Dave London, John Cole, Kathy Wheeler, John Lawrence, Don Hussein, Matt Motala, Greg Stone, Dave Cardone, Mike Costello, Connie Turos, Michelle Costello, forgive me, Connie Turos, and Jamie Sullivan. Appointment of attorneys of record. We have several firms that we use. Bond Chenican King as the general counsel, Trespass and Marquardt as the bond counsel. I thought there was another one after that, Connie.
Alero and Fisher.
Yeah, I can't scroll down to it. Oh, here it is. Alero and Fisher, which would be Harris Lindenfeld. That's where he is.
And Ferrara
And Ferrara Fiorenza to handle certain matters. So All of those firms would be appointed with the fee schedules as shown. Appointment of architect. This would appoint, again, King and King as the architect at the rates listed below. External auditors and internal auditors. Continuing with Grossman St. Amour for the external audit, and continuing with D'Arcangelo and Company as the district's internal auditors. Municipal ops, you know what?
You take those as
I'm going to take those first 12 as a group right now because I have to do something different with 513. So is there a motion to accept or to appoint 5-1 through 512 as a group? Mr. Harrington, Ms. Scanlon, all in favor. 513 I have to take separately, as municipal advisors will continue to be fiscal advisors and marketing as the municipal, it used to be called financial advisor. Under Dodd-Frank, it's municipal advisor. I'll have a motion to appoint fiscal advisors as that advisor. Mr. Maurizio, Ms. Scanlon, all in favor? And I abstain on that one, Connie? Thank you. North Syracuse Central School District Insurance Plan Administrator for Excelis will again be Dave Kassouf. The 403B and 457B plan administrators. Oh, this is to enter into an agreement with Benefit Plans Administrative Services, LLC. School physicians. Very long list. School physicians, Dr. Justin Fedora, Dr. Laurie Fairbanks, Dr. John Friedman, Dr. John O'Brien, Dr. James Talonis, Dr. Dennis Nave, and Dr. Gary Friedman. Advisors for activity funds. At the high school, Bill LeClaire, junior high, Connie Turos, Roxborough Road Middle, Dave Shaw, Gillette Road, Christopher Leahy. District Committee on Exceptional Student Education. Lisa Garofalo, Valerie DeFlorio, Maria Sennett, all building-based school-age programs, school psychologists on a rotating basis, building-based school-age programs, speech pathologists, Matt Conti, Dr. Justin Fedora, and the students' teachers. So that would be the motion to do that as well. On the preschool special education, Don Hussein as chair, Valerie DeFlorio as co-chair, and Eileen Spillane-Healy as co-chair, and then a lengthy list of all the other members of people to serve on the preschool special education. Impartial hearing officers, this will allow the Board of Education president and or vice president to act on behalf of the board to appoint impartial hearing officers, and the board will acknowledge those at the next regular scheduled meeting. District Health and Safety Committee. Don Keegan as co-chairperson along with John Ward. In addition, John Rice, Anna Worksman, Wendy Swift, Matt Conti, Connie Turos, Tim Bednarski, Dave Kassouf, Beth Morrison. Representatives from POMCO, Haley Fire-Coon, Utica National Insurance, OCM BOCES, John Carula, and Mary Licata. Appointment of Fire Inspector. To appoint Paul Gower, Certified Code Enforcement Officer, to inspect all the buildings for the fire compliance. AHIRA compliance. John Ward again, as appointed as the AHIRA, which is the Asbestos Hazard Emergency Response Act. In charge of that. Chief Emergency Officer, pursuant to Ed Law 2801A, this will appoint John Ward as our Chief Emergency Officer. This is my favorite, the District Beverage Liaison. Can I take that one? Okay, here we go. Diane Marlowe will come in and we'll do that as the District Beverage Liaison, which has to do, I believe, Don, with the Coca-Cola.
Correct.
The agreement with Coca-Cola. Use of facilities, there's the whole rates. You can see 17, 18, 18, 19 for the use of all the different parts of the facilities. I would entertain a motion for 514 through 525 as a group. Mr. D'Onofrio, Mr. Maurizio, all in favor. Designations. 601, establishment of the regular meetings. And you can see the list there. Pretty much, it's 2 meetings a month, first and third Mondays, except when the holidays interfere. And only 1 meeting in May. Designation of official bank depositories. M&T is in there. Also, NBT Bank, JP Morgan Chase, Citizens Bank, Key Bank, First Niagara, and Solvay. We may receive quotes from all of them for investment or borrowing purposes. Designation of the official newspaper, the Star Review, then the Post Standard will be the 2 official newspapers. So I will take a motion for 601, 602, 603 as a group. Mr. Harrington, Ms. Kruger. All in favor? Authorizations. Payroll authorization authorizes the chief school officer or his or her designee, so that would be Annette or whomever she designates. Purchasing agent, Dave Kassouf, and there's a whole bunch of the steps he has to take in terms of bids and solicitations and executing all the documents to carry out the purchasing. Budget transfers. It authorizes the chief school officer to approve budget transfers if necessary, and then report those to us in accordance with board policy. Electronic signature. This used to say the signature plate, which doesn't exist anymore. So this now, by using Larry's advice, this allows the use of an electronic signature to put Vince Love's signature on all of the district checks. Staff conferences, the chief school officer is authorized to approve attendance and payment of approved expenses for workshops, conferences, etc. Petty cash, a long list of petty cash in the buildings, pretty much the building principals, and then transportation, Matt Connie, here Laura Fritz, John Ward, and then school lunch, Wendy. And then at the high school for the athletic, Tim Bednarski. Instructional contracts. This authorizes the president of the board and/or superintendent of schools to approve and sign instructional contracts for foster children, transportation contracts, health contracts for pupil services involving our districts and other districts at the rates mutually agreed upon. Cash advances. It authorizes the superintendent or his or her designee to make temporary cash advances from district funds to federal and special aid funds to cover expenses until federal or special aid is received. Board conferences. It authorizes the members, the superintendent, or those approved by the board to attend meetings of the New York State School Boards Association, the Onondaga-Madison School Boards Association, and Central New York School Boards Association, and other associations the board deems appropriate. Authorize membership to the CNY School Boards Association, the Onondaga-Madison School Boards Association, and the New York State School Boards Association for the 2017-18 fiscal year within budgetary provisions and expenses to be reimbursed per board policy 6830. I will entertain a motion for 701 through 709. Mr. D'Onofrio, Ms. Scanlon, all in favor. Other items, readoption of all Board of Education policies, a motion to readopt all existing policies and records as maintained by the district clerk and the superintendent in total, with any exceptions to be determined by a majority of the Board of Education. Is there a motion as such? Ms. Scanlon, Ms. Kruger, all in favor. And we will have a motion to adjourn the organizational meeting. Mr. D'Onofrio, Mr. Fufalia, all in favor. Okay.
You're already there.
Okay, so we will now begin the regular meeting of the Board of Education. And I will once again call the meeting to order, and we will begin again with the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome again to everybody. I ask you to join me in a moment of silence for Alberta Garvin, a retired employee of the school district, and Greg Ruppel, a former volunteer at Cicero Elementary School. Thank you. Presentations, 2018-19 School Food Service Budget Presentation. Wendy is here. Come on up, Wendy.
Evening. I don't know if you can. Let me move this closer. All right, that works. That works. Well, thank you all for letting me come and share our budget for next year with you this evening. Overall, this year we actually had a pretty good year. We made a few adjustments to our program, and it seems like we're moving in the right direction. So a few of the things that we created or worked on this year were one, we added a lunch program at the Henry Clay campus at BOCES. So we were able to provide cold meals to a group of students, and we served roughly 5,600 cold meals to a group of kids that otherwise wouldn't have had access to lunch. We are going to expand that program next year. They're adding a small kitchen. It's under construction right now, and we will be offering hot meals to a different group of students along with breakfast. So we're very eager about what this will do for our program. One of the things I don't know, I'm sure you've probably talked about in your meetings recently is the prohibition against meal shaming. I just wanted to bring this up tonight because this will, we've been working on this year, and it will impact our program and how we interact with the students and the parents next year. Basically, what we've done is we've submitted a document to State Ed with our procedures for how we're going to deal with students with negative balances. And basically, we're instructing all of our staff to not say a word to the students about what their balance is. We're letting them go through the line. We're continuing to contact parents via paper, mail, using school tools, and phone calls, trying to address any negative balances with the parents. I will say it is concerning. We have seen our negative balances grow each year. So we're hoping that we, by calling these parents and talking directly with them, we can actually get some of the funds back for these meals. But I think some parents are confused that meals are just free. So we're trying to negate some of that by calling the parents. One of the things we worked on this year also diligently was to put a breakfast cart in our junior high school, a grab-and-go breakfast cart, much like we did a few years ago at Gillette Road, right by the entrance. And I thank Don and Dan Bowles for their assistance. They were very helpful in getting this cart placed. We found a need at the junior high especially where kids just weren't eating breakfast. We were looking at our numbers, and we found that we were really needing to reach free and reduced students. And a lot of the kids didn't even realize we had a breakfast program. We would make announcements. It was on the menus. We would talk to the kids. It just wouldn't stick that we had a breakfast program. So we put a breakfast cart that we obtained for free from General Mills in near our cafeteria, so they didn't have to walk quite as far getting off the bus. And we increased our breakfast sales the second half of the year by about 50%, reaching quite a few of those free and reduced kids we're so concerned about. We are looking at moving that cart potentially next year with the change in the entryway at the junior high. So we're looking at moving that closer to the front door, hoping to grab more students. And it's just a convenience thing for them. The teachers have been really good about allowing the kids to eat their cereal or their granola bar right in the classroom. We try to make meals really simple and something that the kids can just eat or save for a little bit later when they're hungry. But it's been successful, and we're very happy about that. Again, I already touched base on BOCES that we will be adding a program, but again, we're very excited to see how that program grows and help increase our overall numbers for the year. The other thing we will be changing for next year is we had one of our managers retire this year after 41 years in the district. So it gave us time to really look at how we wanted to, or if we wanted to restructure our management piece of our program. And with the help of the managers, we came up with an idea to kind of diversify some of our managers that are in our middle schools and our junior high, sharing them with the elementaries instead of having one elementary manager monitoring 6 schools. And we felt that this would give the elementaries a little more support that they might have been lacking prior. And this, we're hoping to also find ways for them to improve their meals per labor hour. But I think everybody's very excited about this. So we're looking forward to hopefully seeing our productivity levels increase next year. These are all slides that we typically look at when we're reviewing our budget. But as you can see, our breakfast sales are actually up this year. And our lunch sales are down a little, but not as dramatically as they have been in the past. And, of course, if you factor in the decline in enrollment in some buildings, that really kind of washes out. And we broke this out even further into breakfast and lunch, just showing you our free, reduced, and paid meals, who we're really serving for these meals. And basically down at the bottom, our free, reduced, and paid students are broken out. So you can see really of our student population, we have just over 3,000 students that are free, 350 plus that are reduced, and the bulk of the students are still paid. Next to that is our ADP, our average daily participation. So we just broke that out into numbers for you so you can see exactly who we're feeding. We looked at this last year, and of course we were a little concerned about this, but I think we have talked about this quite a bit with the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act. We have limited snacks and beverages that we're allowed to serve to students, so we do continue to see a decline in our a la carte sales and in our vending sales. They did just make a minor change this year, or moving into next year for some of our a la carte products. They will be allowing us to serve 1% flavored milk in vending machines. So the 12-ounce bottles of milk that the students like to buy, that will be allowable now. Before, Byrne Dairy was only wooden bottle fat-free, which was the regulation. So kids like that. We used to sell a lot of that, so we're anticipating that will help a little bit. And last year was the first year I put this food service slide in our presentation. I wanted to do that again this year because you can see the problems that we are facing. Every year our repair costs are just going up and up. And it's primarily refrigeration. We have a lot of walk-in coolers and freezers. And beyond that, we have a lot of small reach-in refrigerators and freezers. And those little units are failing. They're getting old. Some of them they can't get parts for anymore. So we have been slowly going around and either replacing compressors or replacing pieces of equipment altogether. And we do have a plan in place to slowly purchase a new piece or two of equipment each year. Again, free and reduced rates broken out per building. So as you can see, the junior high is one of our lowest participating groups. So again, that's one of the reasons why we focused at putting a breakfast cart in front of the students. And I think by serving them breakfast and getting familiar with our lunch program, maybe they'll be more comfortable in coming into the cafeteria in the afternoons if they're hungry. Financial trends. I know last year, we're always guesstimating this number at the end of the school year because our money's still kind of come and going from our budget as we're closing the books. And last year, I think we had estimated that we were going to lose about $30,000. But after everything shook out, it was just about $13,000 we ran in the red. But as I said, we had a really productive year this year, and we didn't have some of the expenses that we had had in the past. So we're looking at an estimate of $2,000, maybe a little bit more, but we are confident we will be in the black this year, which is a good thing. In this slide we look at every year. So the paid lunch equity regulations, as you all know from years past, we are required to increase our meal prices every year until we are above the difference between the free and paid reimbursement rates, which happens to be $2.92 this year. They did put a new regulation in this year that says if you are operating in the black on your profit and loss statement as of January, as of the end of January, then you can skip this regulation and you do not have to increase your prices. But unfortunately, we weren't in that subgroup of operating in the black as of January. So we are looking at increasing our lunch prices for next year. And based on our lunch prices this year, based on our estimated food cost increase and our salary increases for next year, we are proposing, like last year, a 10-cent increase that we are hoping that you will approve. Our prices are still in line with other districts. We're right where Liverpool is, right where Baldwinsville is, and we're all purchasing from the same bids, buying the same products for the same prices. So I don't think they're too outlandish in terms of what we're trying to do and put on a plate for the kids. Yeah, I kept it nice and short for you. Does anybody have any questions about anything that we're doing or any of the financial data?
I have some questions.
Yeah.
So, the aging equipment, so that's owned, not leased, right?
Correct.
Are there options to lease, or it's just not cost effective to do that?
It's generally not cost effective because they're number one, our cost of capital is lower than the leasing companies often. Number two, they're usually full payout. If you intend on keeping the machines for a long period of time or a period of time where most of the value has depreciated out of it, they end up being full payout leases. They almost end up being financial arrangements. And the nature of operations, we tend to keep and maintain the equipment. So we believe the lowest cost alternative is to buy and operate the equipment ourselves. One of the reasons the equipment has aged, though, is that there was so much financial pressure in the last number of years to keep the food service budget operating at closer to a break even, although we were losing money. So we kind of tried to stretch the equipment, and as the chart that Wendy showed, we probably pushed it a little too far. We're starting to see repair costs that aren't warranted. You're always going to have some amount of repair costs. So we've been working on a systematic plan to replace equipment as we should everywhere in the district and try to everywhere in the district. We just got a little behind in food service.
I will say, just from being in other districts, it's typical. Food service doesn't really get to replace their equipment because we don't have a lot of money until we go through a building project. So that's pretty common. That's how we usually buy new equipment or get new equipment, is through the projects.
So I had another question. It was about the free and reduced lunches. So do those numbers include just the students who have signed up for that? Or, I mean, I know no child will go hungry, correct? I mean, we don't have kids that are hungry that haven't done paperwork.
We would feed any kid that came through line, whether they're free, reduced, or paid. That's part of that whole charge policy. If a kid comes up, we're going to feed them.
Okay, so those
but
numbers
the free,
include-
reduced, and paid numbers you see, like the 3,040 free students, those are students that have we've either made them directly certified through SNAP or Medicaid, or a parent has come in and filled out a paper application, and we've qualified them that way.
So these numbers could be larger?
They could be, yep. I will say over the years ago, we used to have parents fill out paper applications.
Oh, yeah.
We would look at their income. But with the direct certification method that the state has implemented in the last few years, it has saved the parents a lot of paperwork, and we've actually captured more free and reduced students than we had in the past. So it's definitely helping. They're making it easier.
Wendy, at that same graph, if I'm reading it right, you got 3,000 free kids.
Pardon me?
You have 3,000 free, but
Yep.
only 2,000 eat every day under the 80. So you got 1,000 free kids that
Yep.
don't eat.
Yep. And those are the kids that we are always going after.
Yeah, that's staggering.
That's why we're here. A paid student, we love to feed them, but they can pack a lunch.
Pardon me?
Some people bring lunches too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That
yeah.
may be part of it. but that seemed like a big number of kids.
It's something that really pulls on our heartstrings. When we Wendy and I spent a lot of time talking about this, because if a child is qualified for a free meal, and they're using some of their limited family resources to prepare a meal and bring it in, or worse, not eat anything, we really want to try to target that kid, make them comfortable. And I think one thing that Wendy and the food service team deserve a lot of credit. The change in the formulation of food to be more healthy has been a tough challenge, and so kids, rightfully so, a number of years ago, just were saying the food doesn't taste good. I mean, this isn't, and I think they've come a long way. Wendy's done a lot with sampling and with vendors to try to get food that meets the standards that's appealing to the students, and we've seen kids that otherwise might have opted out of lunch, they're now participating, and so I think we're getting better at it. But you're right. 2/3 of the kids are eating, but there's a full third of our free kids that are not getting a meal, and so we continue to work on it. The junior high breakfast cart is one initiative, and the continuation of just promoting the food with the kids. And we talk about, our goal here is not a financial goal. We want to break even just because it's a practical thing to do, but and we need to do that because we'll have financial problems if we don't. But our real initiative is to make sure kids are well nourished so that they can learn.
Yeah, the other thing is the meal shaming requirement. I got that New York State ASBO thing the other day. The part that struck me is the requirement that at June 30, that anything outstanding must be absorbed by the school lunch program.
Correct. And
It doesn't even provide for the general fund to swallow that loss. It throws it back at school lunch.
not the school lunch program. It actually states that you cannot charge the school lunch program for the negative balances.
Oh, then
so
I
it
read
does,
that wrong then.
Yes, it does.
Good, I feel better.
Every year, Wendy doesn't miss a beat. She sends me
Okay.
a bill for any of those
Okay.
those balances, and so the
but
general
I thought
fund
it
can
said
cover
it
them.
would be swallowed by school lunch.
No,
Oh,
no,
good.
no. And that regulation's actually been around for about 5 or 6 years, that districts are supposed to pick up any negative
Yeah.
balances.
You can only do so much to try to get it. That's it. Okay, good.
If I may, I noticed it said 10 cents more per meal, and you have all these kids that are not coming or packing, and that extra 10 cents may push a bunch of kids into not eating or a position where they feel they can't eat. How are we finding out who's packing a lunch and who is literally skipping the line out of fear of being shamed and not eating?
Well, that's just it. This new regulation, nobody will be shamed, and we've really gone out of our way to make sure they're not doing that anyway. So any child walking through the line, whether they have money or not, can take whatever meal they want. There's no, you have to have peanut butter and jelly or you have to have a cheese sandwich. You get the regular meal that you want, and you just walk through the line. And the 10 cents really affects the paid students. So free meals are still free, and reduced meals have been a quarter for as long as I can remember, and it won't impact those students. Yep.
Anything else for Wendy?
Well, thank you.
Don?
I don't think we need a board resolution, but I'm assuming the board's okay with the
Well,
10
I don't know.
cents.
No,
I don't believe we need.
We don't have a resolution to increase those prices? Good? Okay, as long as...
We used to vote on it, didn't we?
We used to talk about it, and
Okay,
Yeah, because I remember Bob always voted no.
okay. Okay.
Bob always voted no.
I voted no.
thank you very
Before you
much.
go, I want to thank Wendy, and I also want to point out, as Wendy mentioned, I want to also thank Don and Dan because they were instrumental in being very persistent and working with the junior high to get that breakfast cart and the breakfast program going. And it's what's good for kids, and so I appreciate all of your work on that. Thank you.
Yep, thanks to all of you. Thank you very much. Come again, Wendy. There you go. Comments from the audience. I have nothing on the sheet. 4A, board committee reports or comments. Do we have any committee reports, comments? Anybody done anything exciting? No? Oh, that was easy. Graduation. Well, I was going to comment on graduation. I assume you want to.
Yes, I have just a couple of good news comments here, and another comment that's not good, not bad, but a neutral report on an issue. Yes, it's hard to believe it's the first time we've been here since graduation. Graduation was a huge success. It's always just a heartwarming event. We had 677 graduates, and thank you to the board members that were able to attend and participate. It was quite an event, and congratulations, and we wish those students who are now our alumni much, much success. Couple things to celebrate. You've heard the name Jeremiah Willis before because I think I mentioned him in terms of breaking all kinds of track records at our last board meeting. But since then, we were notified on June 21st, the Gatorade Company announced Jeremiah Willis of Cicero North Syracuse High School as its 2017-18 Gatorade New York Boys Track and Field Athlete of the Year. And this is the first time that anyone from CNS has ever been selected for this amazing honor. So congratulations to him. He is quite a young man and quite an athlete. Another congratulations and something worth noting, we're in the process of putting together the July Dispatch, which is always one of my favorites because it's filled with good news kinds of things. And you'll notice an article about a Gillette Road Middle School student winning a National Math Award. Angelina Crawford, who was a student of Erica Gilbert's math class, made such an incredible increase in her math scores this year that she is one of 3 students from across the nation to win the Houghton Mifflin Award for their Houghton Mifflin Harcourt's Math 180 Award. So congratulations to her. That is really, really huge. And I don't think this is the first time that Erica Gilbert has had a student in this situation who's made those kinds of gains. So that is excellent. And now for my update. I did mention that in every dispatch and for every board meeting we would give an update on our penalty issue. And here's what I'm able to tell you at this point. If you're not already aware, the bill for full forgiveness for the North Syracuse penalty did pass both the Assembly and the Senate, which is huge. We now patiently await, because for this to be signed into law, it takes Governor Cuomo's signature. And we have been told that we expect he will sign it, but we patiently await and will keep you informed as things unfold. People have asked, what can they do? And I don't think that it can hurt if people want to do something to send some information about their support or give a call to the governor's office. So more to follow hopefully soon on that.
You're in it. Routine action items. 5A, consideration of approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of June 4 and June 18. B, consideration of classification and school placement of disabled students certified by the District Committee on Special Education. C, consideration of classification and placement of preschool disabled students certified by the District Committee on Preschool Special Education. And D, consideration of contract award for trash and recyclable removal services. You can see the 3 bids were received, and the low bid from Syracuse Haulers for $111,364.45. I'll entertain a motion for 5A, B, C, D as a group. Mr. D'Onofrio, Ms. Kruger, all in favor. Discussion action items. 6A, this one we carried over from the last meeting. Approval of agreements with King & King Architects and Watchdog Building Partners to provide cost estimates for the proposed district swimming pool. We know from Annette nothing has changed with the concern, but Mr. Keegan has some information about the seeker process getting underway, if we can.
Well, as the board's probably aware, whenever we do a capital project, we have to go through a seeker process to determine if there's any environmental impact. When we build a facility where there's where it's not a refurbishment or a reconstruction of an existing space, where we add space, we actually have to get the DEC involved. And it's a simple process where our architects file a form, and then the DEC it's about a 6 to 8 week process or where they just evaluate the situation and communicate with local municipalities to say, hey, there's a potential project, and they try to ferret out if there's any environmental concerns. Now, we certainly don't anticipate any, but if we're trying to keep this project on a timeline that would allow for a referendum in December, this might be one administrative thing that we want to just keep moving along. The good news is there's almost no cost associated with it. DEC doesn't charge us, and it's a nominal, it's almost nothing for King & King to submit the form on our behalf. So I just thought I'd mention that.
So if we want to keep the process going, we should tonight then approve a motion to authorize King & King to contact the DEC and begin the seeker process.
Can we bundle them?
Well, I'm thinking nothing changed on this.
Yeah, I know, but can we add on to that resolution?
Well, I'm going to look at Connie, because I don't want to botch this up. I think we probably want to have a motion for 6A to move that to the next meeting. We'll do that first, and then we'll do the second motion. Okay. So entertain a motion to take 6A, and I don't know if that's postpone or table, I can never get the two right, to the July 23rd meeting. Is there a motion for that? Ms. Kruger, second, Ms. Scanlon, all in favor? Oh,
Can we discuss it? 'Cause I
Yeah.
don't know. Explain to me what we're doing again now. Why are we,
this is
why are we tabling this
the
again?
concern was that we don't have final resolution to the $20 million penalty. And to proceed with roughly $60,000 of expense to do the cost
Okay,
estimate
so
on the
we're-
pool.
It's the same issue as before.
Right, same as it
And
was
where
2
does
weeks ago.
Don's issue with the
That'll be a
DEC
new
fit in?
motion that's not here, but we'll entertain that momentarily. That would be a
Okay,
small
well,
fee.
I'm in favor of moving forward with this motion personally, because I think we need to get the process moving. The penalty's gonna be devastating regardless of $39,000 or $49,000. That's just my
Okay.
opinion.
Then, okay, well, we do have a motion and second.
So I'm discussing that motion.
Okay.
So that motion's before us
Right, the
now.
motion is before us.
It's gonna be my $19 million, however you
Okay,
wanna.
however, whichever way it goes. So we
I
need,
just think
okay,
we need to find out what this project's gonna cost, and we're gonna sit here with our hands tied if we don't
Okay.
move.
so if other board members feel the way Paul does, then we need to have a negative vote on the motion on the floor, and then another motion of what's on the agenda. You can certainly go right ahead.
I know that last time the decision was, let's wait to see what happens with the penalty, and I understand that feeling. I understand what Paul's saying as well. And the big question is, what's the timeline on the governor making a decision on whether he's going to sign, whether it's going to get signed or not? And we have not been able to pinpoint what that timeline is. We've attempted to find out more about the process, but our understanding is that once bills pass the Assembly and the Senate, they go in batches to the governor, and that at that point, I believe there's a 10-day period.
30 now,
And-
because
and-
you're out of session.
Well, now they're
No,
out of session.
they're in session.
They're
Oh, they're
actually,
in session?
Yeah, they gavel in every day
yeah.
so that they can stay in session.
Oh, okay.
That's
Oh,
one
good.
piece that we found out. We thought it became 30
I
because
thought
we
they were
thought
done.
they weren't in session, but they go through some process that they're technically still in session. So, we're expecting it to be 10 days, but the problem is we don't know what that timing is going to be, and so I just throw that on the table as you discuss this, because as Paul said, he's presenting that maybe the decision should be to move on with it, and others are saying wait. I just throw this out there because I don't know what wait means. I don't know how long it's going to be before we really know.
Anything else? Mary? Were you gonna?
Well, I feel we are, in a sense, moving forward with the seeker process, so that is a step forward.
That's a start.
So it's not like we're waiting. I'm not opposed to, but I don't think this is the right time since we're so close to getting this hopefully resolved. I don't want to anger any politicians.
Okay, so let's call the vote on the motion to postpone 6A to the next meeting. So all in favor of postponing 6A to the next meeting, please raise your hands. 1, 2. Is that an up or a down? You got to go one way or the other, George.
No, I'm just thinking.
All right, so I'm seeing only two, which way? Okay, so I see only two votes to move this to the next meeting. So that meeting fails. That motion fails. So now come back to the original motion. Is there a motion for 6A to approve the agreements as shown in the agenda? Aaron and Mike. All in favor to approve those two agreements? Or any discussion, I should say. Sorry. All in favor of approving the two agreements with King and Watchdog? 7. And all opposed? Would
I
be
just
2.
feel it's not, I mean,
Okay.
I would
Yep.
not oppose it, but I just don't feel it's
Understood.
appropriate at this time till we know what we're dealing with financially for the district.
But that does pass 7-2.
And I think under
Does
the
that
circum-
include the sequel?
Yes, so under the
Okay.
circumstances, then the discussion about the DEC is a moot point
Okay.
because King and King will move forward
So let's
with that
get
as
this-
part of the
Okay,
process.
so let's get the show on the road with these two. So the agreements are approved. Now the process, which is going to take months probably, as we understand it, begins. Mary's point, well taken, but we're going. Pardon me?
By the time this comes.
Oh, God, I hope we
I
know
hope
about
it
the
doesn't
penalty.
hurt us.
I hope we do, yep. 6B, resolution to create a part-time typist 1 position from August 15th through September 14th. C, reauthorization with the Village of North Syracuse for the vehicle wash facility. D, reauthorization to enter into a Lonergan Park license agreement, which is nothing new, am I correct, Don?
Nothing new. No,
Nothing
these
new.
are all the same.
What is it?
What's that?
What does that license agreement do?
The Lonergan Park one? Yeah, so actually we own some of the land
Yeah.
heading into Lonergan Park, so they maintain it and we allow them to use it. So that's how a lot of these
Yep.
agreements are.
Agreement, reauthorization of the agreement with NAVAC to use the transportation center facilities. F, reauthorization agreement to enter into agreement with YMCA of Greater Syracuse relative to the use of the school buildings for the AM and PM childcare. G, reauthorization agreement with the town of Cicero for shared services, and that's the fuel facility, right, Don? With Cicero?
Say it again?
Town of Cicero is to use the fuel facilities?
Yes.
That's what I read, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Acknowledgement of gifts. Okay, if I can get this thing to scroll here. Okay, we got the North Syracuse Education Foundation donating items valued at $1,058.56 for the grant winner Flexible Seating Shapes the Minds of Our Futures at CNS High School. 2, the North Syracuse Educational Foundation has donated the following item valued at $937.50 for grant winner Flexible Seating Shapes the Minds of Our Future at the high school. And 3, the North Syracuse Educational Foundation valued at $1,174.77 for the grant winner Library Makerspace at the junior high. And 4, the New York Beef Industry Council has donated $99.99 to Gillette Road Middle School for the purchase of beef products for family and consumer science classes. I, surplus of non-marketable and marketable equipment and textbooks. And I know we had a question before the meeting about the textbooks. Are those that go to one of the companies that buys the used textbooks, Don? Is that what we do?
Yeah, so basically we attempt to recycle wherever we can with the books, meaning they go back they get bought back by the textbook companies and they redistribute them where that's possible.
So I'll entertain a motion for 6B through 6I as a group. Mr. Harrington, Ms. Kruger, all in favor. Retirements. Mark Saylor, physical education teacher at Allen Road, retires with 28 and a half years of service. And Tamara Moran, school secretary at Roxborough Road Middle School, retires with 30 years of service. So we wish them both long, happy, and healthy retirements. Personnel 7A, 7B support staff, 7C administrative. Need for discussion, or can we take a motion to approve 7A, B, C as a group? Mr. D'Onofrio, Mr. Fafalia, all in favor? Motion for executive session. Come on. Maybe. Here we go. Motion to move into executive session for the purpose of receiving an update on 3 legal matters relative to potential litigation and to review the employment record of 2 individuals with no action to follow. Motion, Mr. Marizio, Ms. McDonald, all in favor. We are adjourned.